Good morning. My name is Alain Cariou, and I'm working in the medical ICU of the Cochin University Hospital in Paris, France. And the topic we will discuss today is the use of coronary angiogram after cardiac arrest, with the global thinking that probably we should use a liberal option, but with wise reflection. These are my conflict of interest. And as you know, the outcome of these patients who are admitted in ICU after resuscitated cardiac arrest occurring out of hospital is very bad. It's still very bad, with most of these patients unfortunately dying in the ICU from brain injury. But what is also very important is to keep in mind that many of these patients will die very early during the ICU stay, during the first hours and days, from what is commonly called the post-cardiac arrest shock, which is associated with multiple organ failure. And these patients are dying without any neurological prognostication in most of these cases. The pathophysiology of this post-resuscitation shock is very complex. But coming from animal studies and experiments, we know that what is contributing to this post-resuscitation circulatory failure is, of course, associated with the whole body ischemia reperfusion that is observed in this setting, but also what is performed during the resuscitation itself. We know that epinephrine itself, defibrillations that are used during resuscitation are also contributing factors. But probably we also know that the persistence of the cause, in particular when the cause is a coronary occlusion, is of course something that is a great contributor to the occurrence of the myocardial dysfunction and the post-resuscitation shock itself. This is also something that was observed in humans, because coming back to this landmark study from Yvan Laurent almost 20 years ago, what was observed in this series of patients who were admitted in ICU after resuscitated cardiac arrest is that in those patients who developed post-resuscitation shock and myocardial dysfunction, variables that were associated with the occurrence of this shock was what was observed in animal experiments: the duration of the resuscitation, the longer the worse, the number of defibrillation, the dose of epinephrine, but also, of course, the fact that there was an acute coronary occlusion as the cause of the cardiac arrest. This was a very important contributor to the occurrence of the post-resuscitation myocardial dysfunction. This is probably why the early reperfusion of the culprit coronary lesion is associated with a benefit. And this is what was observed in many larger series over the last 20 years. Such as in the PROCAT registry, French one, which is probably one of the largest registry that examines the effects of the early coronary perfusion in this situation. And after adjustments of regarding other severity variables, what was observed is that a successful and early PCI of the coronary lesion as the cause of the cardiac arrest was an independent determinant of good outcome in these patients. That was also reported in many other observational studies all over the world. But at that time, we do not have large randomized control multicentric studies in order to confirm this results. Anyway, looking back at the guidelines that were dictated 5 years ago from the European Resuscitation Council and the European Society of Intensive Care Medicine, and what was said is that if there is an evidence for a coronary cause in a patient who is admitted in ICU after a cardiac arrest, it is of course necessary to perform an early coronary angiogram and, if required, an early PCI in these patients. This is what is called a recommendation for early reperfusion in these patients. And if there is an evidence based on the post-resuscitation ECG of coronary cause, we should perform an early coronary angiogram in these patients. This is the strategy we use in Cochin in Paris. If there is any prodrome or cardiac prodrome that could be associated with the coronary cause, we do perform a systematic coronary angiography if there is no evidence or neurologic or respiratory prodromes, we do perform first a CT scan. If the first exam is negative, we do the other one, and then the patient is admitted in ICU. This systematic use of coronary angiogram, if there is any suspicion of coronary cause, means that we do find some coronary cause even in patients without ST elevation. And the proportion of patients in whom we have detected in the PROCAT registry a coronary occlusion requiring an early PCI in this situation of non-ST patients is about 25-30%, and this was also observed in many other registries. It means that if you do not perform an early coronary angiogram in these patients without ST elevation, it is an option for not treating a real coronary occlusion that was not associated with the modification of the ECG. And in the PROCAT registry, in these non-ST patients, the early coronary perfusion was associated with a benefit after adjustment for other severity variables, meaning that this is something that could be protective also in these non-ST patients. This was in conflict with other results coming from other registry or trials, such as the one coming from the sub-study of the TTN trial, in which these patients without ST elevations did receive a coronary angiogram for some of them. And as you can see here, when comparing the patients who had an early coronary angiogram and if required a PCI and the others, the investigators did not observe any significant difference in outcome, meaning that the benefit of an early coronary angiogram in non-ST patients after a cardiac arrest is not well established at that time. We do have in this specific subgroup a different recommendation. You can see that 5 years ago, it was said that it is reasonable to discuss an emergent cardiac catheterization in these patients, on the opposite with those with an evidence of ST elevation. But very recently, last year, a large randomized study was published coming from Netherlands. And in this multicentric study, patients who were resuscitated from a cardiac arrest without any ST segment elevation on the post-resuscitation ECG were randomized to have an early coronary angiogram and a PCI if required, or delay the coronary angiographic some days later if patients were still alive and if it was possible to do it. And you can see that in this multicentric RCT, the outcome was not significantly different between the two groups, meaning that there was no evidence for a benefit in the studied population regarding the use of an early coronary angiogram performed at hospital admission, at hospital arrival in these patients. It is very difficult to know if these results could be translated to any other patients in any other settings, of course, and probably we should wait for the studies that are at that time ongoing, examining the same endpoint with very similar design. These patients without ST segment elevations after a cardiac arrest are randomized in the DISCO study in Sweden and Norway, in France in the EMERGE study, which was recently completed, and the results are at that time in a way of being analyzed, and also in the PEARL study, which was performed recently in US. And my feeling is that probably at the time of publication of these different RCT, we should have a clear answer regarding the evidence for a benefit of early coronary angiogram in these patients. At that time, we should probably be more selective by targeting patients with a high prevalence of coronary artery disease, and also by avoiding to do a coronary angiogram in those with no hope of recovery, those with very severe brain disease. Probably we should not use age as a good criteria for selection of patients, because we know that even in young patients, in this series of patients younger than 40, you can see that the coronary cause was the most frequent cause of cardiac arrest. So age by itself is not a good evidence, is not a good criteria to select patients, but in combination with the gender and with the initial rhythm that was observed at time of resuscitation, shockable or not shockable, probably we should be able to detect the most probable patient with an acute coronary lesion. You can see that in the PROCAT registry, patients, male patients older than 50 and with a shockable rhythm were those with the highest probability to have an acute coronary occlusion. You could also use probably some score able to predict neurological recovery in order to avoid to do a coronary angiogram in those with no hope of recovery, such as the CAP score, the cardiac arrest hospital prognosis, but there are some other scores in order to appreciate this risk. And you can see that when the CAP score is over 200, there is a very, very limited chance to recover. And what we observed in the larger Paris area is that there was no association, no evidence for a benefit in using an early PCI, an early coronary angiogram and PCI if required in patients with a very high CAP score, whatever the endpoint, survival at distance or recovery of a good neurological outcome. At that time, a strategy could be used to do what is called an emergency room stop for those without ST segment elevation, with performing some more additional investigation, clinical, CT scan, echo, troponin, why not? And if there is no evidence, to go as fast as possible to the coronary angiography in patients with no other evidence for another diagnostic. So at that time, the global feeling is that we should probably use coronary angiogram, of course, if there is a STEMI. And the recommendation is still to propose this examination in these patients. But in other patients, those without an electrical evidence for recent coronary occlusion, probably we should use it more wisely in those with the highest risk of coronary cause, the other one, but those with a shockable rhythm, male patients essentially, and also, of course, if there is an evidence for a preserved neurological outcome by using some prognostic score such as the CAP score or another one. Thank you very much for your attention.